Most of us will be using the online Arduino Web Editor. To have this work on your Chromebook, you will need to install the Chromebook app. So when I go to the web page, I will not be able to use any of these things until I have installed the app, since I am on a Chromebook. The link will take me to the Chrome Web Store, and if you are signed in with your school email address, you will be able to add Arduino Create for Education because your app has been pre-purchased. I will add the app. This is just telling me it's going to actually connect to this device and send information to this device, and the device is going to send information to my computer. So that pop-up window told me that the app was created successfully, and now I can launch the app, and it's going to take me back to that web editor, except that now I'll be able to access the parts that I need. So we're going to go to the Arduino Web Editor, which is linked from the class website from all of the assignments that require Arduinos. And when you first enter the Arduino Web Editor, there will be a blank sketch with void and loop, and you can write your own sketch from scratch. But what we will be doing is using built-in examples that will preload their already written code. And the first one that we're going to load is fade. It's under the examples and under basics. When you click on that, it automatically loads up, and you can see the sketch is written out where it starts off with a little bit of background information that tells you who wrote the sketch, when it was last modified, lets you know that it's in the public domain. The first part is called the setup, and it will define whatever the outputs and inputs are. This defines an LED on pin 9. In Arduino sketches, you'll see 2 forward slashes and then gray text. That is, after the forward slashes, the microcontroller will not acknowledge any of that text. And so that is what people use to let people know what each line of code is. So there'll be a line of code and then the gray text afterwards to tell you what that is doing. And so this is defining the brightness and the number of increments to fade the brightness of the LED by. And the setup just says that pin 9 is an output where we're going to have an LED. The loop contains the code that repeats over and over and over again. And sometimes it'll loop indefinitely, and sometimes it'll just go once. But this one is going to loop indefinitely. And what it does is it tells it to set the brightness of the LED and to change it in increments of 5 from a brightness of 0 to a brightness of 255. It says to wait 30 milliseconds before going to the next step. So it'll wait 30 milliseconds and then delay and then change the brightness by 5 increments. What we're going to do with our assignment is to upload this code to our Arduino. And then we're going to modify it a little bit. So these codes have a little bit of information. It tells you how to fade an LED. It tells you what it's doing here. And then if there is some circuitry required to make this work, there will be a layout here as well. Now you could build this as shown here in this diagram with a breadboard. But what I'm doing instead is I have my LED here with a 220 ohm resistor wrapped around its leg. And so that's going to take care of my need for a breadboard. I'll just put one end of the LED, the long leg, which is the leg I have the resistor around, that needs to go into pin 9 on my Arduino. This is pin 9, and then the other leg goes into the ground there on the same side of the board. So there's my LED in there in my breadboard. The negative leg is in the ground and the positive leg is in pin 9. Now I'm going to plug in my Arduino, the USB cable, and I hope that my computer acknowledges that I plugged it in. And most importantly, up here, the Arduino Web Editor has acknowledged that I have an Arduino plugged in and it is on COM5. It doesn't matter what port it says it's on. It'll say COM something, or maybe even something else, maybe even USB, but as long as it has an Arduino there and it recognizes it somewhere. If it's not there, you want to go down here and hopefully there will be one there. And if that doesn't work, we'll deal with each scenario on an individual basis. So let me go back to the code tab. And what I'm going to do now is I could press this button right here, which is the verify button. This is important if you modify code or write your own code. It just checks to make sure that it's valid and it's going to work. But I took this code from the internet, and so I know it's good. It came from Arduino. So I'm just going to go ahead and upload it to the Arduino. And so I'm going to push this button. And what it's doing now is it's sending the information through the USB to my Arduino. While it's doing that, there is an LED on here that should flash while that code is being sent, but I think it's fading now. Yeah, so my light, you can see my LED is fading now. And so the code has already been sent and successfully sent. So now what I want to do is I'm going to modify my code a little bit. I'm going to change this brightness to, actually, I'm going to change the delay to 15. Oh, it does. That's how come I keep doing cop number. I'm going to, it's because I'm making a change. It's asking me if I want to save. And so I am going to save this. I don't want the delay to be 3 milliseconds. It'll be too fast for me to see. So 15 milliseconds, and this should be twice as fast. This should fade, but be twice as fast. Trust me. The other thing I can change is the increments up here. I'll change it to 20, increments of 20, and then my fade won't be so smooth. It'll be choppy. So let me push that onto my LED. Now my fade is a little, it's not so smooth. Other things I can do is have it not go to full brightness or have it not go to a full dimness by changing this value to like 100. Now it won't go all so dim. I think I'm going to make it a little slower though, so I can see what's happening. So I just made all kinds of changes there. And the big idea is that it's really quick and easy for me to make changes to the programming. Whereas if I was doing this with a regular circuit, I would need to swap out resistors and swap out parts. And no, this is the exact same circuit with different processing that I've applied to it. Oh no, it's doing some weird things. My camera's not picking up. Okay, so screenshots are a great way to show that you've done coding. And then if you're unable to build this with the Arduino, which is very simple now, I'm hoping that you guys will be able to take this and make it happen. You can do this in Tinkercad. When you bring over an Arduino, it automatically has blink code on it. So what you would want to do to make it fade is open up the code. It would say blink. You can press Control A or Command A, whichever one for your computer. Select it all and paste in the new code. And then start your simulation, and it should work. Oh, it says something's wrong with my code, though.